Am I the a-hole for not giving up my seat for an elderly woman on the tram? Am I the a-hole for eating salad in front of my girlfriend and then making a joke about it? Am I the a-hole for being embarrassed of my girlfriend's cosplay? My 25 male girlfriend, 24, had a double mastectomy 5 years ago. She had breast cancer and thankfully made a full recovery. Unlike a lot of women, she didn't have any reconstructive surgery. This was before I met her. I'm a big anime nerd, and last weekend I invited her to a small anime con with me. She's seen a few episodes of my favorite shows, but she's not into anime. She does like cosplay though, and she works seasonally as an SFX artist at a haunted house near us. So when I asked her to go to the con with me, she asked if she could cosplay, and I said sure. She got very excited and said I was going to love her costume. So I'll admit I thought she was gonna do something sexy for me. Well, not exactly. The day of the convention comes and she shows up at my house cosplaying Dabi from MHA, specifically a look he has later in the manga. It's a long white coat over white pants, no shirt. Her entire chest was exposed and she'd obviously spent hours applying burn makeup. She has short hair that she dyes constantly. This time she bleached it white and dyed a few red streaks. I wasn't expecting her to show up without a shirt. Her burn scar makeup only covered half her chest, so you could clearly see her mastectomy scar. It wasn't a very attractive costume, especially since she'd gone all out with the scars and made them look raised and kind of realistic. We went to the con, and while a lot of people came up to take photos with her, I noticed several others looking at her chest. That evening, she said I'd been quiet all day, and I honestly told her I was a little embarrassed that she was flaunting her mastectomy scar like that. She got mad and said she was making the best of her situation and said I was being insensitive, and she's been distant ever since. I'm starting to feel guilty. Am I the a-hole? I'm gonna say yes, you are the a-hole, but because you do feel a little bit guilty about how you acted, you're not a complete a-hole. Still weird though that you're getting embarrassed because your girlfriend is trying to have fun. Oh, how dare your girlfriend not have a pretty little cosplay outfit. Obviously, she has not gotten the message that her only worth is if she caters to the male gaze. Yeah, you're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. Jesus, she went through cancer and a double mastectomy and you're crying about being embarrassed? Please break up with her so she can find someone that's not an a-hole. This is why women have such a hard time being cosplayers. Guys are always assuming they're doing it to be sexy for them. Your girlfriend did something scary and brave for herself. Your reaction is disgusting. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. You wanted a sexy cosplay girl and you didn't get it. So now you're all upset. You're embarrassed of her scars that saved her life. She deserves better. Would I be the a-hole for spraying some kid with my garden hose daily after he walks all over our lawn? I, 37 male, live with my wife, 37 female, and son and daughter, 9 and 11 respectively. Recently, there has been this kid who comes by our house after playing soccer and either rides his bike or walks over the lawn with his cleats on his way home. It started out as me giving him stern looks whenever I saw him, then it slowly progressed to me asking him to just go around. The last time I asked him to stop, he made a point to stomp extra hard and twist his feet into the grass to piss me off. Since then, I've just been hosing him. The first time I sprayed him with the hose, he ran off, but then for some reason he just started standing there while I hose him, like he enjoys it. It's now progressed to me sitting on my lawn chair, pointing my hose at him, and him just staring at me while he does so. Sometimes we even make small talk. I'm not gonna lie, it started off as a really bitter relationship, but I've actually gotten to know the kid quite well. We talk for maybe 15 to 20 minutes every day, and he doesn't seem to mind being hosed down after sweating hard playing soccer. He comes by daily and we just shoot the shit while I hose him and he stands there for a bit. Wife told me I need to stop. Even after I explained it to her, she said I'm making us look like childish idiots. I guess I could stop, but honestly, it's really funny waiting for him to come by and I see no harm in it. Would I be the a-hole? Ooh, I'm not entirely sure. It's like kind of a rogue element that the kid just stands there and lets you hose him down, so I don't really know. Okay, this is hilarious. I was going to say you were the a-hole and get offense, but I see nothing wrong with what's going on now. Not a-hole. I mean, the kid sounds like kind of an a-hole, but I guess not an a-hole. Kid is obviously deprived of attention and is weirdly getting something bizarrely meaningful from this incredibly strange relationship. Has he stopped trying to damage your lawn? Get another chair. Ask the kid to sit with you. That kid rather gets hosed down by a stranger, then go home. Something's up. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. He's stopped stomping on your lawn, but is still seeking you out as someone who will genuinely listen to him whilst you cool him off after training. The kid is showing his gratitude, and you're feeding that gratitude. It's a sweet relationship, and your wife should stop worrying about what everyone else is thinking and see it for what it is. Alright, so in conclusion, it's just weird all around. Am I the a-hole for banning my sister-in-law from my house over tomato sauce? I, 28 female, have an older brother, 32 male. He is married to sister-in-law, 33 female. I get along with her well, except for this one point. If you don't keep an eye on her, she will get into the kitchen and add seasonings to whatever is cooking. She thinks she is fixing stuff, but not all foods need turmeric in it. This Saturday, I received 40 pounds of tomatoes. It took me the whole weekend to turn it into a sauce that I was planning to can. I can it plain, then add whatever seasonings and herbs it needs, depending on the recipe. They came to take a bag of spare clothes for one of their kids, and in the 5 minutes it took me to get it, she managed to get into the kitchen, add salt, pepper, turmeric, olive oil, garlic powder, and Italian herbs to all 5 of the pots that were simmering on the stove. And when I asked her what she was doing, she had the audacity to say, "This sauce needed some taste. I added it for you." Like I've never told her to not touch what I was cooking before. I was so angry that I knew I couldn't be calm talking with her. So I simply walked to my brother, told him to take the clothes and his wife, and that she is no longer welcome in my house. She had followed me, was shocked, started apologizing, but I just ignored her. I added that he should come by tomorrow to take the sauce his wife ruined, because otherwise it would be thrown away, and that I expected 40 pounds of replacement tomatoes. They left. He came back with the tomatoes, an apology letter from her, and apology carrot cake, my fave. But I told him that I stand by my decision. Now my parents got involved. Since I am the one that usually hosts, and since she is not allowed in my house, I told them to make alternate plans for Memorial Day. My husband says that I am in the right, but my parents say that my reaction is way overblown. So, am I the a-hole? Edit. Since there seems to be some confusion, I am not planning to host for Memorial Day and not invite her. I said I am not hosting. My parents or my brother should host, and I will attend as a guest. I might be angry, but I don't want her excluded. I'm gonna say you're sort of an a-hole just for the reaction, but overall not, just because you're not trying to exclude her, you just don't want her coming over and ruining your stuff like she just did. If you don't keep an eye on her, she will get into the kitchen and add seasonings to whatever is cooking. She managed to get into the kitchen, add salt, pepper, turmeric, olive oil, garlic powder, and Italian herbs to all 5 of the pots that were simmering on the stove. Like, WTF? This is so boundary disrespectful, and insulting to what you're cooking. And it wasn't even for her. Not the a-hole for being furious. I do think she learned her lesson though. Not the a-hole. It is never okay to add something to someone's food without their consent or knowledge. Who the heck walks into someone else's house and seasons 5 different pots? Not the a-hole. Yeah, the fact that it was 5 separate pots and she did it to all 5 is kind of insane. Not the a-hole. I'm so glad you discovered that she ruined a day's work before you canned that mess. Who does that? I don't know that I'd invite her back into my house again either. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay for my boyfriend's food after he ruined my food photos? I have an Instagram account dedicated to photos and short videos of food from local restaurants in my city. I don't turn meals into a whole photo shoot production when I go out, but I like to snap a few photos of everything as it comes out. I've got about 1,000 followers. It's just a hobby for me, but I have made friends with some other bloggers, and we like to go out and get pics together and try new restaurants. I prefer doing this with my foodie girls because my boyfriend hates it and will go out of his way to take a big bite of food or mess up his plate with his fork before I can snap any pics. And he rolls his eyes when I take pics of my own food, so I pretty much stopped bothering when we went out together. Money has been tight lately because of some medical bills, so I haven't been able to go out to eat with my foodie girls, and the infrequent date with my boyfriend is the only chance I get to eat out. I had to sit him down and have a, "Look, just let me enjoy things" conversation with him, and told him I was going to take pics of my own food when we went out, and could he please just not be immature about it? And since we alternate who pays for dates, I told him I would appreciate it if he could spare the 30 seconds for me to snap a pic of the appetizer plus his meal on nights that I was paying, and I got sort of a half-hearted, do whatever you want confirmation. Sunday was my turn to pay, and he let me take a pic of the appetizer with minimal fussing. But then when the entrees came out, I went to snap a pic of his, and he messed messed it up with his fork. Then he reached over and stirred up my pasta to also ruin the photo of my own meal. I was so pissed off by that I refused to pay his half at the end of the meal, which pissed him off because he said he wouldn't have ordered a cocktail if he knew that I was gonna skip my turn. He says I owe him one because I don't get to just decide not to pay according to our agreement after we've already ordered. Oh my god, what a baby! Like, first of all, no, you don't get to play the "we had an agreement" game after you purposefully ruin the thing she wanted to do. You're not an a-hole, but your boyfriend is a piece of work, not the a-hole. Why are you even dating someone who clearly has no respect for you or your hobbies? Dump this a-hole, not the a-hole. I don't get people who go out of their way to actively ruin other people's fun. He totally could have just started eating his food, but to mess with yours is just not acceptable. I'm in a relationship where my boyfriend goes out of his way to make my sorry butt happy, drives to a special store to get just me ice cream, lactose intolerant, starts cooking at 8 p.m. on a Sunday because I'm hungry, etc. I, of course, do stuff for him too, but he is just the effing best. To me, a relationship has to beat being alone. Someone ruining my fun and peace doesn't cut it. You are not the a-hole. Your BF is an a-hole. Not only for deliberately messing up your meals, but also for ordering a cocktail just because he thought he wouldn't be the one paying for it. I would be reconsidering my relationship with someone so selfish and childish. Not the a-hole. It blows my mind that he is so utterly unwilling to do this one small thing that takes less than a minute, yet makes you very happy. He doesn't have to want to do it himself, but it is such a minor and easy thing to do. I can't imagine wanting to ruin my partner's enjoyment to make some kind of vague and useless point. At least we're all in agreement here that, your boyfriend sucks. Am I the a-hole for standing up during a Beyonce concert? So, I'm a huge Beyonce fan and have been my whole life, especially being a Houston, Texas native. This was my first time being able to afford a ticket to her show, and I'm currently living back and forth between Sweden and the States. I've never been to a concert in Sweden and was very shocked by how unlively the crowd was. No dancing or singing, really, from most people in my section. Closest non-GA to the stage. But I was out of my seat, singing and having a blast as soon as the show started, and a woman and her partner behind me asked me if I could sit down so they could be able to see. I assumed since she was starting the show with ballads, I was doing a bit much and apologized and sat. But once the energy picked back up, I was back up on my feet dancing. There were like 2 other people on my row doing the same. I honestly had the time of my life and even cried a bit. Ridiculous, I know. When the show was over and I turned to leave, the lady said, "You're not the only one who paid for this, you know. Is that how you act in your village?" And I was too stunned to say anything back. I could understand if this were an orchestra concert or something, but her latest album is focused on house music and the ballroom scene, which is very lively. This happened weeks back, but I can't even enjoy my memories of the experience because I keep getting this pit in my stomach, feeling like I ruined someone else's experience. Am I the a-hole? Ooh, I am not entirely sure, because this could be like a slight cultural divide, especially if this was a show in Sweden. I'd say not really the a-hole because you're supposed to be having fun at a concert, but it's very dependent on culture, I suppose. You are the a-hole. You sang and danced to the concert as you do when in the States. That's fine when you're in the States, but you weren't in the States. You were in another country where it was clear to you from the start that people were sitting in their seats to watch. As soon as you keyed in on that everyone remained seated to watch, and you were the only one up and about, and someone asked you to sit early on, you should have sat your dance-happy self down and stayed seated to watch until such time as you saw everyone stand. If they never do, you stay seated. There are countries who watch concerts and sporting events in near complete silence. When in Rome. I see what you're saying here, but you could be a little nicer, you know, because I don't know, especially a Beyonce concert, you don't want to, get up and move a little. You're the a-hole. By your own admission, it was obvious that other people were not behaving like you wanted to. The fact that it might be acceptable someplace else 8,000 miles away is irrelevant. You are the a-hole. I'm not from the US, but where I'm from, it's seen as extremely rude and selfish to stand up during a concert in front of people who are seated behind you. In my country, if you stand up in front of rows of seated people, a steward will often come and ask you to sit back down. If you refuse, security could remove you. Many younger people who attend concerts accompanied by their parents/guardians, shorter people, and disabled people who have their entire concert experience destroyed if you were to stand up in front of them. There are situations where people with limited mobility who cannot stand for long periods are seated at concerts too. If you make the choice to stand up, you are blocking the views of multiple people who also paid money to be there. You're free to sing and move around and have a good time, but actually getting to your feet and blocking the performance is extremely inconsiderate. Okay, interesting. So this is more of a cultural divide than I thought. I was very unaware. Read the room. You're not in Houston, you're in Sweden. I don't know their cultural norms, so you'll have to tell us. If it's the cultural norm to sit, then you should sit. However, if many people were also standing and dancing, then stand and dance. Am I the a-hole for going to a concert over my mother's wedding? My mom is getting remarried. My birth father passed away a while ago. A few weeks ago, I won Taylor Swift tickets on the radio for the same day as her wedding. I made the decision to go to the concert over the wedding, and I told her this, and she is very upset. She has not spoken to me since. I love my mother and feel bad missing her wedding, but I thought she would understand due to the circumstances. I do not like my soon-to-be stepfather, and I feel like seeing Taylor Swift is a once-in-a-lifetime experience that I do not want to miss. Also, I have made it very clear to my mom over the past few months that I am not okay with the marriage, but still plan to be at the wedding. But then I won the tickets, and things changed. So, am I the a-hole for choosing the concert over the wedding? I'm gonna say you're kind of the a-hole because, Taylor Swift? Really? You can get tickets sometime down the line, but your mom's wedding is, only one time that you can experience that. Unless, things don't work out. You're the a-hole. You chose Taylor Swift over your mom? Weird. You're the a-hole. Even Taylor Swift wouldn't want you to miss your mother's wedding to go to her concert. Sure, but I doubt OP is going to the concert because Taylor wants her there, LMAO. You're the a-hole and very selfish. TS is not once in a lifetime, but your mother finding happiness again, regardless of your like for the groom, is very rare. Not the a-hole if you aren't okay with the marriage and have made that clear to your mom. But you are the a-hole if you are skipping the wedding and using that as an excuse. Taylor Swift is not once in a lifetime. Your mom's wedding just might be, though. If you committed to coming, you shouldn't have even been in that giveaway. You're the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for evicting my roommates after they threw a party without my consent? I, 29 female, have 3 kids, and last year my husband/children's father passed away during open heart surgery complications. I was a stay-at-home mom and always had been, so I had no idea where to start. I'd never had a job, and admittedly, I didn't even have my license. It was tough from every single angle, but in short, I needed help, so I decided to let my best friend, Jesse, 30, male, and his wife, Kim, 29, female, move into a spare room to help pay rent. I immediately went for my license, passed first try, and quickly got a job. During this time, my parents were helping with babysitting my kids, and thankfully, within 6 months, I had become comfortable with the adulting lifestyle. But we were all still grieving heavily, as I never really gave myself time to process the loss of my husband, nor did my babies really grasp that daddy wasn't coming home, which made things much more difficult. So anyways, my roommates have been fine for the most part, but have recently started attempting to get me to party more, let loose, and have fun. Things I'm still not even remotely comfortable with, and I've expressed this multiple times. That, and I have some unresolved trauma involving men from my childhood and don't really feel comfortable being around any guy while drinking. I'm working through that in therapy, started recently, but there's a long road ahead. Well, I picked my girls up from soccer practice yesterday and brought them out for ice cream. We got home around 6 p.m. and there were 4 or 5 unknown cars in my driveway and I could hear the music blared. I walked inside to find easily 10 plus people, mostly men, drinking, dancing, and partying with my roommates. I immediately turned off the music and told everyone to leave. My roommates called me a poor sport and said I need to let go. Between them having strange drunk men in me and my husband's home around my girls and not respecting my boundaries on no partying in general, I decided to evict them this morning, where I had a lease already drawn up stating I could evict them at any time with a week notice. I only gave them 7 days to be out, and I was within my rights to do so. They're saying I'm an a-hole for blindsiding them after all they've done for me, but then having drunk guys in my house around my daughters without even asking, knowing what I went through was not a situation I will ever forgive. Am I the a-hole? No, absolutely not the a-hole. These people purposefully disrespected your boundary that you had told them previously and have a perfectly valid reason as to why you wouldn't want that to happen. Those people are awful. You're totally fine. You're not the a-hole. You expressed your feelings about parties more than once, when one should be enough. They threw a party at a house with children. You are 100% not the a-hole. I'm very sorry for loss and really proud of the way you've managed your life after such a tragedy. Not the a-hole. Ignore Ignoring everything else, they threw a party with alcohol in your house where your children currently were without your consent. Disgustingly entitled. No, they deserved it. Plus, when you confront them, they still show no remorse. What a bunch of dumbass. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Drunk strangers are not safe around children. End of story. Am I the a-hole for telling my daughter that I'm disappointed in her? Hello all. It's been rough with my only daughter as of late. My husband and I, both of us are 55, have one daughter, 30, female. We've been married coming up on 32 years soon. My daughter was in a long relationship and married for approximately 9 years, and for a long time I thought it was a good relationship, when out of nowhere around 3 years ago, she decided to divorce her ex-husband. We were told it was a mutual decision, but that ultimately he wasn't the greatest partner and there were many things that she was not satisfied with in their relationship, so she wanted to leave. We supported her decision. About a year after the divorce, she introduced us to her new boyfriend, and while my husband and I thought it may be a bit early to date, we decided to continue to support her and meet him. He was and is a very charming man who treats our daughter wonderfully, and you can tell she is extremely happy. Now to the argument. Recently, we were talking with one of our daughter's friends who was visiting our town, and we're discussing our daughter's job and her wonderful boyfriend. Her friend in the conversation made a comment about how they were lucky to be in the same orientation together when they started work. As soon as she saw our confused faces, she gave us the full story, as she realized we hadn't been given it. Our daughter had told us while her and her boyfriend worked for the same employer, they didn't meet until after the divorce. We pressed the friend for more information, and she begrudgingly told us that our daughter and her boyfriend had met during orientation at work while our daughter was going through her marital issues. This led to them becoming closer and her filing for divorce from her ex-husband about a year later. So later that day, I asked to have a conversation with my daughter and brought up what her friend had told us. She turned white as snow and basically confirmed her friend's story, but reiterated that there was no physical cheating. I told her that physical cheating was not the only way you could hurt someone, and that it appeared that she had emotionally cheated on her ex-husband. He may not have been the greatest person, but it didn't excuse her actions. I told her that I was disappointed in her, and while I supported her leaving a bad marriage, that I couldn't look at her and her boyfriend the same in this new light in regards to cheating. I still love her and will treat her boyfriend with respect, but it is definitely something I have a hard time looking past. She got angry with me for not continuing to support her in her journey beyond divorce. Am I the a-hole? Gonna go ahead and say you're not the a-hole, because as their parent, you have the right to feel disappointed in them, especially if your daughter technically cheated on somebody, even if they weren't the best person. Like, it's still not a good precedent to allow cheating as a morally okay thing to do. You're the a-hole. It's not your business. She isn't 20 years old. I'm 42 and I don't really give a damn about my mother's opinion. Keep heading in that direction, won't you? You know, just based on this response, I have a sneaky feeling that you like to cheat on people and you don't like being told you're bad. You're the a-hole. She divorced him for a reason. It's not like she strung her ex along. She left him, and then a whole year later, she got with her current boyfriend. You're the a-hole. It is extraordinarily inappropriate and rude for you to think you have the right to decide whether or not your daughter's divorce was justified. The reactions here are a little interesting, because I feel like, I don't know, as the mom, you have the right to at least say it. It's not like she's saying you have to break up with your new husband. People are being weird right now. Am I the a-hole for eating someone else's birthday cake? So this happened the other week when myself and my friends, males and females ranging from 27 to 32, were celebrating my friend's birthday, Tim, at a restaurant. Next to us was another table, similar ages, no kids, judging from balloons and presents, who was also celebrating a birthday. The dinner went by normally, and when it came for dessert, some waiters came out with cake for Tim and sang happy birthday. We divided up the cake and began eating. Turns out the cake wasn't for Tim and was meant for the table next to ours. The waiter came over and asked us to stop eating the cake as it wasn't for us. We laughed as we thought it was a joke, and we were halfway through at this point. We noticed the other table staring daggers at us. We stopped eating and didn't outright apologize, but said to the other table we didn't know. Who checks to make sure someone organized this cake specifically for Tim? You're at a birthday and you see cake, so you eat it. After dinner, the other table yelled at us in the car park, calling us a-holes for eating their cake and for laughing when asked to give it back. I assume if anyone are a-holes, it's the restaurant. But what does Reddit think? Am I the a-hole? Edit to add things addressed in comments. The cake was a regular chocolate cake, so maybe why the other table didn't notice it as theirs straight away. The waiter took about 5 minutes after serving us the cake to come back. We did give the cake back after we realized it wasn't a joke and wasn't organized by someone at our table. If anything, I'd probably say the other table is kind of a-holes for blaming you guys specifically for seemingly a restaurant mix-up. Like the restaurant messed up and let you take the fall. Not the a-hole. The restaurant effed up by delivering the cake to your group, and once people were eating it, it was too late to just stop and give it back. Not a-hole. You didn't know. The restaurant made an honest mistake, and other party was upset because you sort of stole from them. They shouldn't have yelled at you, but it's understandable. Not the a-hole. This is the restaurant's problem, not yours. The other group's anger was misplaced. You obviously didn't know the cake wasn't yours, so what exactly is it they expected you to do? Am I the a-hole for leaving my number on the bill? So I, 26, male, went out for dinner last night with a few friends. We were at this pretty nice restaurant and our waitress, female, early 20s, caught my eye as soon as we sat down. I thought she was really cute and had a great sense of style. Her outfit was really unique and just seemed to suit her perfectly. Anyway, throughout the night, she was really friendly and attentive, and I couldn't help but keep noticing her. After a while, I decided to go for it and compliment her on her outfit. I said something like, "Hey, I just wanted to say that you look really cute tonight, and your outfit is amazing. It suits you so well." She seemed to take the compliment well, smiling and thanking me. Later on, as we were finishing up our meal, I decided to write my number on the receipt and leave it for her, just in case she was interested in talking more or even going on a date. When I handed her the receipt, I told her, "I hope this isn't too forward, but I've really enjoyed talking to you tonight and thought you might like to get in touch if you're interested." She took the receipt and thanked me, but I noticed her smile seemed a bit forced this time. I figured maybe she wasn't interested, and that was fine. I didn't want to push her or make her feel uncomfortable. After we left the restaurant, my friends told me that what I did was inappropriate and that I shouldn't have put her on the spot like that at her workplace. They said it's not okay to hit on service workers who are just trying to do their job. I genuinely didn't mean any harm, and I thought I was being polite and respectful about it. God, this one's tough also. I'm gonna say unintentionally the a-hole. I understand we're all out there looking for love, but at a restaurant, they're more than likely just doing their job to get a better tip, you know? Throughout the night, she was really friendly and attentive. It is her job to be friendly and attentive. She seemed to take the compliment well, smiling and thanking me. You are a customer. What's she supposed to do? Throw a drink in your face? You're the a-hole, whether you meant to be or not. Please do not go back to apologize or otherwise contact her. You've already put her in a really uncomfortable spot. Oh my god, people still do that? After all the talk and the awareness campaigns? The waitress is at her place of work. Her literal income depends on her being nice to customers, even if they are drooling, hounding, self-unaware specimens. Repeat after me. She doesn't like you. She is trying to make a living. You're the a-hole. Sheesh. You're the a-hole. Don't hit on the workers at restaurants. They are just trying to get through their day. Soft, you're the a-hole. Don't hit on or ask out service workers. They're a captive audience, and customers can make their lives difficult if the employee turns them down. You put her in a difficult position. Also, don't discuss religion or politics with service workers. Am I the a-hole for going back on an offer to adopt my cousin? I was visiting family in South America 13 years ago. I met one of my cousin's kids for the first time. The young woman had just had her third kid and had been left by her boyfriend. He was the father of only the latest kid. She looked so worn down and sad. When I got back home, I spoke with my wife and she agreed that if his family was okay with it, we would adopt her youngest kid. It was an offer, not a demand, and we made sure to explain that we would help her out monetarily with the other two as well. I was adopted in a similar manner, so I've always felt a desire to pay it forward. My adoptive parents are also related to my biological parents, and they helped them with money too. Well, it became a huge deal. I was trying to steal a kid just because I had money and blah blah blah. So I said no problem and walked away from the offer. Well, that baby is 13 now, and his mother has had 2 more kids. She is being supported by her mother, but not doing great. Her 2 eldest kids are working and are going to school, but the 13-year-old is a bit of a jerk, I guess, skipping school and hanging out with the wrong people. My family contacted me me to see if I were still willing to help him out by bringing him up here. I passed. This is a big difference between a baby and a 13-year-old troublemaker. Plus, I'm 50 now, and I don't really have the energy to deal with that stuff. So I declined. My family down there are crapping on me for going back on my offer, so I offered to pay all of his expenses down there if any of them would take him in. Nobody thought that was a good deal. I feel bad for the kid. I have a fairly good idea how his life is going to go. I just don't think that I'm the person to fix this problem. Am I the a-hole? Based on the timeline of events here, you're not the a-hole. You offered to take the kid in 13 years ago, and they all thought you were trying to steal the child. But now that it's convenient for them, they want you to do it, even though the offer has been off the table for a while. Not the a-hole. They declined, and now that the kid is problematic, they want you to take their child at 13 years old? Away from his family? Wow, they are honestly some messed up parents. You didn't go back on your offer. They rejected your offer. That was the end of the offer, by their choice. Offering to pay expenses is far more that most people would do in this situation. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. The mental gymnastics your family plays when convenient is astounding. Stay firm. Nope, not the a-hole. No offer lasts 13 years, and adopting a baby is very different compared to adopting a teen, even a well-behaved teen. Am I the a-hole for telling my 12-year-old niece to not make life any harder for her mom? Throwaway count. I, 40, female, have a 12-year-old neurotypical niece and an 8-year-old high-needs neurodivergent nephew, 8 years old, male. They are my sister's kids, 37, female. My niece's birthday was yesterday, and she has cupcakes ready to bring to her class. My nephew doesn't sleep well at all, and both his parents are up with him a lot of the night and very sleep-deprived. Nephew snuck downstairs yesterday morning before everyone was up and ate most of the cupcakes. Parents forgot to lock the cabinet. Like I said, they're very sleep-deprived. Brother-in-law works about 60 hours a week as a physician, and sister is a stay-at-home mom. My niece called me from her cell. We're very close, and I only live 5 miles away. And with her being hysterical, I could also hear nephew having a meltdown in the background and his parents trying to calm him down. She was understandably upset because it was her birthday and she was bringing cupcakes to the class. Neither of her parents would be able to replace the cupcakes on time as sister had to take nephew to a doctor's appointment. They would have been there a number of hours. And her dad had several surgeries lined up that day and couldn't get out of work. We live in a rural area that doesn't have Uber Eats or DoorDash. My partner, 42 female, owns the local bakery and was able to go in early to make impromptu cupcakes for my niece, and my partner would deliver it to her school. I too couldn't get out of work, so I told my niece not to worry, that I would take care of it, but to please lay off her parents, that their lives are hard enough with her brother that she shouldn't make things any more difficult for them because they're so burnt out and overwhelmed. She got angry with me because she said her parents were careless in forgetting to lock the cabinet. I told her it was an honest mistake that anyone could make. My partner thinks I shouldn't have said that because she's just a child. This is true, but her parents are literally hanging by a thread, and I'm trying to help the only way I know how. Her parents thanked us profusely for coming to the rescue with her cupcakes and offered to pay, but we declined, saying it was on the house. Am I the a-hole? I think this is a soft you're the a-hole, just since you probably shouldn't have said that to your 12-year-old niece because they're a child and they also want their parents to pay attention to them and their needs. But you're not fully an a-hole just since you did come through with the cupcakes to kind of salvage the birthday. You're the a-hole. My experience is that when a high-needs child eats up all of the energy and time and attention, the other child is told to stuff their feelings down at that age and it emerges somewhere else in life. For a couple of my students, it ended very, very badly. Her feelings are valid. She's too young to get over it for her parents like an adult. I agree with your partner. I don't know what the high needs are, but you might cover for the parents sometimes so they can sleep. Help them find a respite caregiver. Take the niece out away from the chaos. You're the a-hole. This girl has not been her parents' priority for 8 years now, and likely won't ever be again. She's lost so much of her childhood as the sibling of a high-needs neurodivergent kid, and now you, too, are expecting her to parent her parents? I feel for her parents. I do, but it's not their pre-teen's job to soothe their egos when she has to suffer in silence. You're the a-hole. She is 12, a child. She is reacting as a child would. She was not trying to make anyone's life more difficult, and that's not an appropriate thing to say. Children's brains are not as developed as ours. This was not her fault. You need to speak to her in a way appropriate for her age. Her parents being burnt out is on them, not the child. She's 12. 12! Not an adult, but a child. She has a right to be upset. It was her birthday, for crying out loud. You're the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for how I suggested my niece deal with homophobia? I'm 35 and I've been out as queer for at least 15 years. My sister's Jess's daughter, Renee, just came out as a lesbian. She's 16, and while her family and friends are accepting, she's had some issues with other people. Jess asked me if I could give her advice on it, and I gave her this advice. Sometimes people will try to debate you on your sexuality. I'd never engage. Even if you win, debating your personhood will eat you up inside. Instead, know this about bigots. Their hate isn't about you. When someone shames another person, they are often coming from a place of deep internal shame, self-restriction, isolation, etc. They see self-denial as a virtue to justify their own self-imposed restriction and resent the person who's in true accord with themselves. They're deeply lonely, in a fearful place, having been indoctrinated to fear their fellow man. They're part of churches or organizations that maintain power and control through fear of others, and you are unfortunately being othered as a propaganda tool. If someone tries to argue with you about your sexuality, ask them to reflect on themselves instead. Don't let them debate you. Just keep reminding them that they only have to answer to themselves and to God. I gave her all that advice and she listened and felt better hearing that the stuff people are saying about her is 100% not about her. But stuff got kinda rough when she went back to church next. Apparently, one of her dad's friends was giving her the whole love the sinner, hate the sin crap, and she went off on him, asking him in front of everyone why he was getting so red in the face, saying that she didn't want to debate her own sexuality, but she was concerned about him, that he was so clearly sad and afraid and ashamed that he was putting that pain out into the world, and she hoped he'd go home that day and reflect on whether he wanted to go through life letting fear and shame control and isolate him. It apparently made things really awkward and made the guy madder. He got at her saying she didn't know him, and she was like, "I don't have to know you to see that. I'll pray for you." Which, damn, Gen Z is gutsy, and honestly, I was proud of her. But my sister was upset. She asked me if I told her daughter to call this guy sad and angry, and I said yeah, though just generally, not about that specific guy. My sister told me she thought I was setting her daughter up for trouble, that the stuff I suggested she say was gonna make a lot of people angry. I said those people were already angry. She said that advice wasn't age appropriate at all, and that I should have said more of the love yourself / self-confidence stuff. She wanted her daughter to be safe and worried about her saying that kind of thing. Am I the a-hole for the advice I gave? It was honestly the best advice I had, but I can see where my sister is coming from saying it's not the best advice for a teenager. Maybe a case of unintentionally the a-hole because the advice was good, I think. It was just the way the daughter interpreted it and how she used it which made it a lot worse. Not the a-hole. What she told that idiot definitely struck some truth within. You did fine. Your sister isn't as open-minded as she wants you to think. She worries about what her church family will think of her. She needs to be more concerned with standing up for her daughter and standing by her. Not the a-hole. You gave your niece solid advice and guidance. My question is, why is your sister angry with you instead of the grown man at church who felt the need to concern himself with her 16-year-old daughter's sexuality? That is downright creepy. What kind of grown man debates with a child about their own romantic orientation and yells, "You don't know me," when it doesn't work? I don't think your niece was in the wrong for defending herself in a church full of people who won't respect her, so not the a-hole. She needs support in a time like this, which is something you definitely gave her. Of course, people will get mad at her for defending herself, but it's way better to stand up for yourself than to keep quiet, because if you defend yourself, that shows they have no power over you. If you don't, they'll keep pushing you and think it's okay to. Am I the a-hole for not giving up my seat for an elderly woman on the tram? I, 26, female, am currently 5.5 months pregnant. Even though I'm in my second trimester, I don't look very pregnant. Additionally, I wear baggy clothes, so it would be tough to see my bump either way. In terms of fitness and health, I'm really active, but recently I've been struggling with fatigue from the pregnancy. After a full day of work, I'm a uni lecturer. On my feet, I'm exhausted. Today, I was on the tram headed home from work, and most of the seats were taken. I decided to sit in the seats reserved for those who need it, i.e. disabled, elderly, pregnant, with children. I usually don't do this unless I absolutely have to. Like today. I was minding my business while listening to my podcast when this older lady, I'd guess late 60s, early 70s, tapped me on the shoulder. I removed my headphones and asked how I could help her. She said to me that it's rude of me to sit in these seats and asked if I could stand instead. The way in which she said that was pretty rude. I'm a shy person and hate conflict, so I was a bit taken aback by her attitude. As I began to try to explain to her how I'm pregnant, another passenger came over and repeated the sentiment of the older lady. Once they stopped talking, I managed to quickly say, "Actually, I'm pregnant," to which the older lady scoffed. She said I couldn't possibly be pregnant and told me to give her the seat. I refused to move and explained to her I needed the seat as much as she did. At this statement, she lost her mind at me. By this point, we had reached the next stop and the tram conductor came to see what the yelling was about. The older lady told him what was happening and he looked at me and said, "Are you really pregnant?" To which I obviously said yes. He then said to the lady that there was a free seat near the front that she could have, which she begrudgingly agreed to take. The other passengers then said to me that even if I am pregnant, I should always give up a seat to an elderly person as they actually need it more. After this, I actually felt pretty guilty. Maybe she did actually need it more than me, but how can you tell? So, am I the a-hole for not giving up my seat to an elderly woman on the tram? Personally, I don't use public transit that often, so I don't know the rules about how seating works. I don't think you're the a-hole though. If anything, it's the older woman for just kind of being rude and accusing you of just faking being pregnant, I guess. Not the a-hole. If the other passenger was so concerned, they can give up their seat. Not the a-hole. The seats are for the elderly, disabled, and pregnant for a reason. Pregnancy causes the human body to exist at the limits of like high-endurance athletes for months at a time. That comes with aches, pains, instability, fatigue, etc. There's also the safety concern. Many pregnant people have low blood pressure, making them dizzier and more prone to falling. You're also off balance because your weight distribution isn't what you're used to. And falling while pregnant can be anything from minorly sore to very, very serious, depending on how you land, lucky, etc. Sorry, but I'm not risking my baby's life for etiquette. You did nothing wrong, and I'm sorry they made you feel like you did. I love how bystanders always think other people should sacrifice, but oh no, not themselves. Mine is mine, and yours is the community's. Not the a-hole. I know someone who fell badly while standing on a bus and several months pregnant, miscarried. Swollen ankles in pregnancy can F with balance in a bad way. You might not notice it normally, but while standing on mass transit, oh boy. There was other seats available. Not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for eating salad in front of my girlfriend and then making a joke about it? I, 28 male, grew up in a family that put a lot of emphasis on healthy eating. As a kid, we always started dinner with a salad, and I've continued that practice as an adult. I don't take my salad with any dressing, and the only toppings I add are mushrooms and tomatoes. Since I don't put dressing on my salad, I often eat it with my hands since it's easier than trying to spear the dry mixed greens with a fork. I've been eating my salads like this basically since I was a teenager, and it was never an issue, even when having dinner with my parents. My girlfriend, 27, female, eats salads occasionally, but doesn't love them the way I do, which is fine. She's currently pregnant, and pretty much all she wants to eat right now is meat and potato type meals, which is also fine. She's had some severe morning sickness in the first trimester, and it's been a struggle to find food that she can consistently keep down. So we'll make something she wants for dinner, and then I will pair it with a side salad for myself, so I'm still getting my greens. Lately, I've noticed she's been a little distant during dinner, so I asked her about it. She said that my side salads are unappetizing to her, and she requested I stop eating them in front of her because it makes her nauseous to watch. I told her that everything makes her nauseous right now, and that it's not fair to me that I have to change my lifelong diet because of her pregnancy symptoms. She told me that the issue isn't with the salad, it's the way I shove it down my throat like a caveman. Apparently that makes her gag, and then she doesn't want to finish her own food. I told her that I've been eating my side salads like that for over a decade, and no one has ever commented on it, so I think she's being overdramatic. I told her that her caveman comment was rude and unnecessary, and that I would continue the conversation with her when she's ready to talk about it in a more reasonable way. She immediately got up and went into the nursery and shut the door behind her. When I walked by later, I could hear her crying, but I didn't go in and say anything because I feel like she should be the one to apologize to me for the crass comments she made about how I eat. She ended up sleeping on the glider in the nursery while I slept in our bed alone. We sat down for breakfast this morning in silence, so I attempted to diffuse the tension by asking if the way I was eating my toast was acceptable or if it was also making her nauseous. She immediately started crying again, calling me an a-hole and accusing me of not caring about her feelings or how hard the pregnancy has been on her. All I was trying to do was make a joke, and I know pregnancy is hard, but women go through it just fine all the time, so I don't understand why she's making such a big deal about it. So, am I the a-hole for eating my salads in front of her and then making a joke about it the next morning? I want us to sit down and resolve this when she gets home from work tonight, so I guess if I need to apologize, I will. Okay, you kinda had me there in the first half. I was on your side, but you kinda fell off the rails there, bud. It's not like she told you you can't eat the salad salad anymore. She just doesn't like watching you eat the salad. So like bring it to the kitchen and eat it there if you really need it. The biggest problem is you kind of blaming her for being a baby about being pregnant. Like, come on, dude, you're the a-hole. You're the a-hole for the joke you made. Easy solution for the salad. You can eat it before eating with your girlfriend and have a few bites of potatoes with her. Is it that hard to find a compromise? And you're 2 times an a-hole for your comment about how women are just fine with pregnancy. All my pregnancies and birth went perfectly. Still, I was nauseous with cravings during first semester. Still, I was more sensitive and less patient. Still, I had to deal with my body changing forever, etc., etc. You're just at the beginning of it. Step up, man. You're the a-hole. You have no idea what pregnancy nausea is. You literally eat salad with your hands. The toast comment was unnecessary and you know it. You're the a-hole. Your joke was passive-aggressive. If you thought it would diffuse the tension, you seriously lack any self-awareness. Also, use a fork. You're an adult. We all know he didn't say it to diffuse the situation. He was being petty. Ugh, these kinda hurt my brain, so I'm gonna go take a break now. Thank you all once again for watching. My name is Brandon, and I will speak into your head another day.
Bye.